Hi everyone, today we are going to be talking about trying on the brand new Charlotte Tilbury Cream Bronzer. I was so excited to get my hands on this. I've bought 2 shades, I'll go into those in a second, but I'm always a little skeptical and always a little nervous every single time I review anything from the Charlotte Tilbury brand. I'm sort of falling out of love with the Charlotte Tilbury brand a little bit because all the products seem to fall into the major miss category or the major hit category. There's nothing really in between for me, so we will see which camp this falls into today. Let's get straight on with it. If you're new here, hi, my name's Gemma. I upload new videos on YouTube every single week. I would love it if by the end of this video you've liked what you've watched. Come and join the Pampered Wolf Pack by clicking on that subscribe button and also the notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. So this is the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Sun-Kissed Glow Bronzer. It will set you back £42 in the UK and you get 21 grams of product or 0.74 ounces, which works out at £2 per gram of product. This comes in 4 different shades: fair, medium, tan and deep. These are a really wide spectrum of shades and will suit the darkest of the dark all the way to the fairest of the fair. This is supposed to be sweat-proof, humidity-proof, long-lasting, lasting up to 16 hours. It's got some skincare benefits in there: hyaluronic acid, vitamin D3, and it's supposed to blur and give you that soft focus effect. It has finely milled pearls in there to give you an illuminated look, and it's got no alcohol, fragrance, or essential oils within the formula. So let's just talk about the price for a second before we dip into the shades that I've bought. I think it's quite pricey for the amount of product that you get, and I will give you an example. So let's talk about the Chanel Cream Bronzer for a second. The Chanel Cream Bronzer will set you back around about the same amount. The Charlotte Tilbury is 42, the Chanel is 43, but you get more product in the Chanel bronzer, 30 grams, whereas you get 21 grams in the Charlotte Tilbury. So the Charlotte Tilbury will set you back £2 per gram of product, whereas the Chanel will set you back £1.43 per gram of product. So it is more economical to go for the Chanel than it is for the Charlotte Tilbury. However, they are both very, very different products, so you might find that you want both. Just to have a look at the price difference just a little bit more, because I think just comparing it to the Chanel can be quite deceiving. Let's have a look at the Huda Beauty Tantour, which is another one of my favorite cream bronzers. I will show you the swatches of these side by side in just a second. The Huda Beauty Tantour in the shade Fair is £26 to buy on its own, so much more economical to buy outright than the Chanel or the Charlotte Tilbury, but you only get 11 grams worth of product, which means that per gram of the Huda Beauty Tantour you are actually shelling out £2.36 per gram, which is a lot more expensive than even the Charlotte Tilbury, let alone the Chanel. So although it's more economical to buy outright, you're paying more for every gram of product within the container. So I just thought that was a little bit of an interesting comparison. Let's have a look at the swatches and then we'll get some on my face. So these are the 2 shades that I bought. I've got number 1 in fair and number 2 in medium. There is a huge jump from one shade to the next, and that shade jump continues throughout the range. So there's also a huge jump between medium and tan and deep. So if you are wondering which shade you're going to be, if you don't have a fair skin like mine, if you have more of a medium to a tanned skin tone, definitely go out and check out Charlotte Holcroft's review. She's included loads of swatches and she's also done a try on. It is a great review. Highly recommend you go and check it out. So these are the swatches of the 2 that I've bought. This is number 1 fair, this is number 2 medium. And as you can see, not only do they have different depth, but they also have different undertones. I would say that fair is much cooler in undertone, which I love, and medium is got slightly warmer of an undertone. You will get a much more bronzy look if you opt for medium than if you go for fair. So just for comparison, this one here is the original Chanel Cream Bronzer and this one is the Huda Beauty Tantour in the shade Fair. There are definite similarities in depth of tone, but there are definite differences in undertone. So these 2 middle shades, the Charlotte Tilbury in the shade medium and the Chanel are both warmer shades, much bronzier, and the outer shades, the Huda Beauty and the Charlotte Tilbury in the shade Fair, definite cooler undertones, and that is where my eye takes me. They are definitely my preferences so far. So let's just talk about texture for a second, because I think it's really important, especially if you absolutely love the Chanel Cream Bronzer or the Huda Beauty Tantour. Both of these bronzers, I feel, have a much slipperier finish. They are much more emollient. They really do feel like a cream. And when they go on, they give you that sheen of beauty and hydration and glow. Whereas the Charlotte Tilbury Cream Bronzer is like nothing I've ever put on my skin before. It's a much drier cream. It's like a powder cream. So even when you touch it, it looks like a powder in the pan. I mean, if you can see up close, I don't think you would know that this was a cream if you just opened the product. It does have a much firmer feel to it, which is why if you don't like cream products and you're wanting to dip your toe in, this is probably the product I would point you in the direction of, because it doesn't necessarily feel like a cream and it definitely doesn't wear like a cream. This is not going to slide off your skin. Once this hits the skin, it sticks and it's going nowhere. So I've just put my hair up, but before we try some of the product, I just want to talk about the packaging for a second, because although it shouldn't matter, you are paying for it, so it so does. I really like it. I am pleasantly surprised by the packaging. It is chunky, it is modern, it is sleek. It's really large as well, which is great if you like to use a large brush to apply your bronzers. You can definitely get a large brush in this pan. It's also got a really large, sturdy, well-made mirror in here as well, which will be great for traveling. I just love everything about it, bar one thing. This pattern on the top, which is gorgeous, nothing against it, I think it's beautiful, is already scratched to bits. So this is not going to look this way for very long. I only got this in the post yesterday and it was perfect. I checked it. I wanted to make sure that both items were pristine before I reviewed them, and they were, and now they're not. And they've only been on my side. My daughter hasn't been playing around with them. I don't know how they've got all these scratches. It says to me that as soon as these go in my drawer with all the rest of my cream bronzers, when the time comes that I want to actually get these out of the drawer again, which hopefully will be very soon, they will already be bashed to bits. This may not be an issue for some of you, but I wanted to make you aware of it. It's slightly disappointing. Okay, due to the different undertones of both of these products, I'm going to use them in slightly different ways just so that we can contrast and compare. I'm going to use the fair shade as more of a contour and the medium shade as more of a bronzer to give me that bronzy glow. So let's dip into the fair shade first. I'm using my Refa number 19 brush. Oh, and it picked up a lot of the product. So I'm just going to go in slightly under my cheekbone. These shades are seriously pigmented, so I'm going to take my BK Beauty 107 brush and just stamp that into the skin. These are effortless to blend, and I do know from experience from swatching these yesterday and also playing around with them all day yesterday that they are incredibly buildable as well, and just as easy to blend out whilst you're building them as they are the first time that you apply them to the skin. Look how beautiful that is. Absolutely stunning. Let's move on to the medium shade and apply this where the sun would hit, as this is a warmer toned bronzer and will give me that lovely summery glow. I'm going to apply this all over the forehead rather than just on half of it. And then once again, take my BK Beauty brush 107 and just blend that in. I thought initially that this would be way too dark and way too warm for me, but on those no makeup days, although this is slightly too deep, because it blends out beautifully, I think I could make this work quite easily. I'm going to dip back in to the fair shade just to contour this side of my face. So super pigmented, very easy to use. Really, really love that. I'm going to take a bit of the medium shade and use that on the tops of my cheekbones as more of a bronzer. Let's see if you can actually leave this on the skin for a second before you blend it out, because that will make a big difference to how I would apply this to my skin. Blends out beautifully once it's just sat on the skin for a couple of seconds. Let's have a look at this side. I've applied this side already around about 30 seconds ago now, probably. Let's see how this blends out. Yep, still completely effortless. Because these really stick to the skin and last all day, I'm actually quite surprised that they don't stick to the skin like glue as soon as you actually apply them, and you actually don't have to work incredibly quickly with these to make them work. I really like that. So going back to the consistency and the texture of the product, now it's been applied to the skin, there is no tackiness, there is no stickiness. It's sank into the skin really well. It hasn't sat on the surface. It's been absorbed and really melted into the skin. I'm loving the way that it looks. Having said that, some of you will be disappointed to know that I don't really see any illuminating qualities from the crushed pearl particles that are within the formula. I, however, am not disappointed. I don't like my bronzers to be really radiant, and although this isn't flat matte and also isn't really illuminating either, it just gives that really skin-like look. I don't think this looks like I've plastered bronzer all over my skin. I think it looks like skin, so that I really like. Another one of the claims that this makes is that it gives that soft focus finish and it really blurs out the skin. I don't think it's really done that either, although again, I still think it looks really beautiful on my skin. Because it's not overly shiny, it hasn't emphasized my pores, but I don't think it's airbrushed them and give them a soft focus finish either. I'm just going to apply some of my Pat McGrath blush, which is a powder blush in the shade Desert Orchid, just over the top of this to see how that blends in. I can't see there being an issue. One, because I watched Charlotte Holcroft's review yesterday and she did this and she had no problems with it either, but also my skin is not at all tacky to the touch. You cannot feel this bronzer on the skin, and just as I imagined, that blends in beautifully. No issues whatsoever. And I think that's because this is a cream bronzer, but it doesn't feel like a cream bronzer. It's very, very different to all other cream bronzers that I've tried. So I know a lot of you are my shade twins and you're going to want to know, if I could only buy one of these shades, which one would I buy for my skin tone? I'm really struggling to make that decision because both of these are beautiful, and although they're the same texture and consistency and formula, they look different on my skin. The number one for contour, cool toned, absolutely beautiful, but you can also use this as a bronzer as well if you want to. I only bought the medium to use underneath foundation because I thought it would be too deep on top of foundation. I was wrong. You can really sheer this out if you want to. It looks quite scary when you first put it on, but once you've buffed it into the skin, it looks beautiful. Because you can build this up and use it underneath foundation and it works stunningly, and you can also use it as a bronzer. This one also works in both ways. I just don't know. I think it will come down to personal preference. If you want a cool tone bronzer, go for the fair. If you want a warmer tone bronzer, go for the medium. Because both of them you can sheer out and build up to be the same depth of colour. That's as helpful as I'm going to be in this. I'm really sorry. So that's it for this video. I really hope you found it helpful. If you have a much deeper skin tone than mine, I will link Charlotte Holcroft's video in the description box for you, because she also has a deeper skin tone and she bought the shade medium and the shade tan and applies them both and swatches them both in that video. So it's definitely worth a watch if you have a deeper skin tone than mine. Hope to see you all in the next video. Bye everyone.